Hey guys, Zach here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Godzilla King of the Monsters Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah 2-pack. Now, as I said in the previous two videos, these two monsters come from the upcoming film, Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is not out yet, at least as of me recording this, but I will at least say that, the movie does look great, and I am very excited for it, and it looks a lot better than Godzilla 2014. There is one thing I don't like about it, just by going by the trailers, but for the most part, the movie looks very good, so I cannot wait to see it, so yeah. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's take a quick look at the quote-unquote backdrop that comes with this set. And again, this is just a cheap piece of cardboard, so there's not a lot to it, but the backdrop here is supposedly a destroyed stadium, which looks nice, but I feel like as a backdrop to, a couple of monsters fighting, I feel like this doesn't work as well. But yeah, it looks cool, but again, as a backdrop, it's not great. However, I said this in previous videos, but I kind of like to look at these as kind of like the collector's cards that came with the old Jurassic Park figures. So yeah, I kind of like to think of these as that. And also, again, these are supposed to be backdrops, but the figures themselves are way bigger than the backdrops. So yeah. That's one thing that I'm not a big fan of, but again, I kind of like to look at these as like the collector's card or whatever, so yeah. Again, the quality isn't great, but it still alright, so yeah. I don't hate it as much as other people, but whatever. Anyway, before we take a look at King Ghidorah, this time I actually want to take a look at Godzilla. So, starting off with Godzilla, this is actually my favorite 3-inch Godzilla out of the Jakks Pacific line, because it's not like a Burning Godzilla repaint, or it's not like a Blue Atomic Godzilla repaint, it's just normal Godzilla, and that's all I really need, so yeah. Anyway, speaking of the paint, depending on this figure, isn't bad. Not great, but for what it is, it's pretty good. So, most of the figure is a charcoal black with a glossy finish to it, which actually kind of looks like, it kind of makes this figure look like it came out of the water, which I really like. Anyway, on the front of the body, we have some really nice dry brushing, and that's also on the side of the legs here, which looks nice. The eyes are painted yellow, and the teeth are a bonish white, and I like that a lot. And that's pretty much it for the paint on this figure. Again, not great, but considering the price of this set, it's not terrible, so the painting here gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation, and from the articulation all the way to the detailing, I'm not going to go into too much, detail with this, because this is a repaint. This is the third repaint of Godzilla that we've looked at so far, so if you want a more in-depth, look at, this 3-inch Godzilla, then check out my Godzilla vs. Mothra 2-pack from Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I reviewed a couple weeks ago, so yeah. Anyway, check out that video if you want a more in-depth look, but yeah, as of now, the articulation is something that we've seen before. So, the head can move 360, the arms can move up and down, and the legs can kick about that much, and they can go back about that much. There's a swivel in the tail, and another swivel, which is cool. And that's pretty much it for the sculpt. Pretty good for what it is. Gets a pass. Now I'll take a look at the sculpt, and actually really quick, the sculpting on this figure is, again, not bad. It's Godzilla from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I like how this looks. And again, I think Godzilla's design in this new movie looks better than the 2014 design. The 2014 design was actually really good. I like that design a lot, but this design just improves upon that a lot, so I really like that, so yeah. But something else I didn't really talk about in my previous reviews for the 2-packs, but I like the sculpt for Godzilla. Actually, not just Godzilla, but all of the monsters in this line are in this neutral pose, because Godzilla, he's just in a neutral pose. He's not aggressively stanced or anything like that. He's just, just casually just standing there, and I like that. And that's actually one thing I'm not a big fan of when it comes to the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom toy line. A lot of the dinosaurs, if not all of them, almost all of them, are in this aggressive stance, which doesn't look great, and can be kind of a pain to get them to stand. But yeah, this is just neutral Godzilla just standing there casually, and I like that. I like that a lot. But yeah, again, this is a repaint, not going into too much detail. The sculpt here looks very nice. Now I'll take a look at the detailing, and the detailing again looks good. A lot of scaling. The gills look good. The dorsal plates look eh. The arms could look better, but the legs look pretty good. And the tail looks pretty good as well. Detailing, again, for what it is, not bad. It gets a pass, so yeah. Anyway, that's it for Godzilla. Now for King Ghidorah. First of all, I'm not going to get this whole figure in frame, so the wings are just kind of in the air, but yeah. I really wanted to like this figure. Considering the price, I was thinking, it's not going to be great, but I still like it enough, so yeah. And again, I really wanted to like this, but unfortunately, there are just some things that I really don't like about this figure. So, before I talk about that, let's take a look at the paint. And the painting on this figure is actually kind of bland. So, most of this figure is kind of like a dull, a dull yellow, like a dull gold, which looks alright. Not great, but alright. The eyes, as you can see here, I painted a bright yellow. And on the wings, we do have some minor bits of paint, which is like a blackish color, which, again, very minor, and there's not a lot of it, so you almost kind of have to squint in order to see it. But, yeah. And on the back of the wings, we have some black as well. Not a lot, but just some. So, yeah. And that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. Usually I wouldn't I usually wouldn't complain, but I feel like the painting here is definitely not the best. So, yeah, the painting here, unfortunately, does not get a pass, because the paint here is just too bland for me to care. So, yeah. Anyway, now we'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation is why I'm not a big fan of this figure. It's not as bad as Mothra, this figure, but it's close. But basically, the articulation here is very weird. Obviously, the legs can move, which is nice. But the tail, the tails here, they're on swivels, but one of them can move, about still, which I don't get. This one can move, but this one can kind of move, but not a lot, which I think is kind of weird. The wings are on hinge joints, but the wings here are actually very loose, so you can't really get them to stand up. So, yeah. Unless you get them like this, but even then you kind of have to, mess around with it until you get to stand. So, yeah. The wings, the reason why they're heavy is because they're a lot thicker. It would have, if they were, thinner, then maybe they would, stand up fine, but, yeah, no, these are just really heavy, so, yeah. Anyway, we have articulation at the base of the necks here. We have swivels at the base of the necks, but the necks are really weird because at these two, they're at the base, but for some reason here, it's at the center, which doesn't make sense at all, but that can move. Also, something else to point out, the other necks right here, they're plugged in, so you're kind of gonna have a hard time pulling them out. This head is very easy. That's just a peg, so that just sits in there. It doesn't plug in, or it doesn't pop in or anything like that, so yeah. And if you're gonna buy this for a kid, then I can easily imagine this other head getting lost. So yeah, not really a big fan of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. And the articulation here, I would like it a lot more, but for some reason, I don't know if it's just mine, but the wings are just way too heavy. The tails are kind of, for the most part, the articulation isn't bad besides the wings, but it's very weird. So, yeah, because these are swivels, but at the same time they do move from side to side, which again is weird. And again, the whole neck fiasco is kind of not good. But for the most part, it's not awful. So I'd say that the articulation here, I'd say it gets a pass and a half. Not terrible, it's just very weird. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the articulation. Oh yeah, actually, before we move on to the sculpt, you're probably wondering why I'm just holding onto this figure the whole time. Well, this thing cannot stand, and it's all because of the wings. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for the articulation now. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpt here is actually pretty good, and is basically King Ghidorah from Godzilla King of the Monsters. One thing I will say, the heads, if my camera can focus, these are supposed to be horns, but to me, it doesn't look like horns at all. It just kind of looks like a mane, which I'm not really too big on, but yeah. Also, for some reason, there's like a thumb here, which isn't in the movie, but yeah. Other than that, the sculpting on this figure is pretty good, so the sculpting gets a pass. Now I'll take a look at the detailing, and the detailing is actually not terrible. So, starting off with the heads, they're detailed okay. Nothing really well defined or anything, but again, looks nice. But the neck looks good. The body looks alright. However, the legs, again, look alright. There is some nice musculature here, so I like that. The wings are detailed not terribly, but not great either, but they still look nice. And the tails look pretty good as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the detailing. Not great, it's pretty bland, but for the most part, I like it a lot. So, at the end of the day, should you get this? I said this before, as a kid, if you're, as a kid, I'd say there would be no harm in buying this, but if you're a collector, I'd say you're better off getting either the NECA figures or the SH Monster Arts figures, so, yeah. This set isn't terrible, especially for the price. Each 2-pack is about $10, which, for what you're paying for, it's really not bad. If these were more expensive, then I guess it would be a problem, but yeah. But that's pretty much it for this toy line as a whole. I only have the 2-packs, and I don't plan on getting anything else, so yeah. This toy line, I feel like, is very disappointing. I'm not expecting I didn't expect SH Monster Arts quality of figures, but I feel like something better than this, because not just as a collector standpoint, but as a kid's perspective, I feel like kids deserve something better than this, so, yeah. Anyway, if you want to know how big this set is, here they both are next to Dr. Billy Grant. Alright? Now, this is a Walmart exclusive, so you're going to have to pay about $10, which, again, isn't bad. You're paying $5 per monster, plus you're getting this collector's card, which isn't bad. So, at the end of the day, collectors, don't buy this, but kids, if you want this, then definitely go for it. Alright? Now, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and in the next video, I'm going to start something a bit differently. I'll see you June 1st. Have a good one.